Hello again, everybody, and welcome back to the channel. Thanks so much for joining us again today. Well, I've got a little pistol video for you here today, and this is kind of a continuation of a video we did a few weeks ago on the Shadow Systems CR920. Really nice gun, basically everything a Glock 19 ought to be. A lot of great built-in features. And so, of course, follow-up question was wanting to see some of the smaller models, and I was able to get my hands on the CR920. And for me, this is pretty exciting. I like all the features on the larger gun, but I tend to carry a smaller gun. So we're going to see how all of the features of the Shadow Systems translates into the smaller platform, how it compares to some of the popular actual Glock models in kind of the same category. And we're going to get to all that in just a second. Alright, once again, welcome back. Thanks for being with us. If this is your first time coming to the channel, or if you've been watching our videos and you just haven't had a chance to do so, and you like our content, please consider subscribing. You can locate that subscribe button in the lower right-hand corner of your computer screen there, or if you're on a mobile device, you can scroll down below the video, and you can hit subscribe that way. It's a simple thing that helps us out a whole lot, and we really appreciate it. So, today we'll be talking about having a quick look here at the CR920 by Shadow Systems. And like I said, we just went over the MR920. So I'm not going to beat you to death with every single detail about these handguns, other than the fact that, basically they're very nice Glock clones, essentially. And the MR that we looked at last week was, of course, the approximate sizing to the Glock 19. As great as that is, a lot of people are looking at more compact guns for their carry guns. And of course, we're getting good capacity in those guns these days, so hence we're going to look at some of these. I'm going to do an initial size comparison here because we always like to kind of start off with that. And there's a couple different guns I want you to see it up against. The first one is just a good old-fashioned Glock 43. Because with the standard magazine, and I'll get into that to the features, but this got a 10-round mag standard, and it's got a 13 extended. But with the standard magazine, this firearm is very much the same footprint as your Glock 43. It's very small and compact. I'm pretty excited about that. The 43 is actually one of my favorite little Glocks, just because even though it has a lower capacity, and yes, there's different mags you can get, it's just a really good overall size. It's easy to conceal, and it shoots well. Now, I've had some people say, well, if you do change the magazines, you'll have a different grip configuration, so it's not really that small anymore. And I'm going to get to that when we do the size comparison and the features. But let me show you one more gun. You put it next to the 43X. As you can see, things change a little bit because, of course, you have the larger grip on the 43X. But as far as just about everything else, your width, your length of your slide, your grip, if you had the longer magazine in the CR920, then it would be right in line with the Glock 43X. And there are times when, of course, that larger grip would be handy. But I just wanted you to see that for starters, of course, because we're always trying to look at these from a standpoint of how they're going to be to carry. And if you're used to carrying one of those two guns, that gives you a pretty good idea where to start. Now, some people I've seen compare this to the Glock 26, which to me doesn't make a whole lot of sense, because the 26, as you know, is the the baby Glock, and it's a double stack, and so it's a much fatter grip. Nothing like what either one of these are, and certainly nothing like this. So that gives you a good idea what it's going to be like. Alright, we're going to jump into the features here. Of course, before we do, we want to take a moment to thank our friends over at Don's Weaponry for providing us with this beautiful example of the CR920 by Shadow Systems. Don's Weaponry is a huge supporter of firearm safety and education, and we can't thank them enough. So, like I said, we went over the complete, some of the things that make the Shadow Systems unique with the MR, and I'll sort of touch on those here. But before we get too deep into it, we'll do a quick safety check here. You can see your magazine is empty, and you can see that there's nothing in the barrel. We are totally free and clear. So, looking this thing over, a lot of features we like to kind of do a top-down analysis on here, and I'll do this in the same way. First thing we're going to look at is our sights. I'm always pretty happy whenever you get a good quality high visibility front sight, and that's what you've got. So you've got a night sight, and it's got that high visibility ring around it, so it is going to be very easy to pick up. Now, people differ as to what they want in their rear sight. I'm not against this, basic cut out, this notch style rear sight, but I would actually much rather have 2 dots there. I'm so used to going back old school to my training, just having 3 dots across. I just really like having 3. So, that's something I would probably change, would be my rear sight. But I love the high visibility front sight. That's definitely a winner. And of course, when you look this thing over, it's got some pretty aggressive cuts in the slide. Very nice, even if this is a winter, if you wear gloves in the winter time and you want to manipulate the slide, that'll be pretty easy. There's, of course, different, you see the grip, different patches. There's the forward ones there. I've seen some people that do some maneuvers where their hands end up way forward on the frame. I don't do any of that, but I've seen people do it, and it seems to be very effective in doing so. Of course, your barrel, it's made out of a 416R stainless steel, and then it has that titanium carbonitride coating there. You can see that bronzy looking stuff there. Pretty nice, pretty good for wear protection. And of course, you've got your steel guide rod in here, much better than of course an old plastic one. Of course, I've got the slide release right here, and if you look, you can see right here, of course it's a Glock clone, so the disassembly procedure is going to be just like a Glock. You'll pull you'll pull your slide back ever so slightly here, pull the notches down, then this whole thing will come forward and off. Okay, and then once it's apart, it's a simple matter of tipping out your barrel and your rod. Of course, getting your barrel out, and you clean your parts, and then you just line it back up. So it's a very simple disassembly. Your magazine release, you can see you've got a pretty aggressive little step here, so you can grip that quite easily, actually, and it pops right out. We talked about the fact that it has both a 10-round magazine and you have a 13 extended. I'm going to show you this real quick to come back to something I mentioned earlier, and that is the how this sort of puts it in kind of the same grip size as the 43X. So if you look now with the bigger magazine, you can see what's happened here. We've gotten these very close to the same size, and some people prefer to have a lot more grip anyway. I know I do. I think the gun is great for concealment with the flat mag, the 10 rounds. I can get 2 fingers in here pretty well and hold it nicely, but I tell you, it sure feels a lot better with the extended mag, where I can actually get all 3 fingers on there, and it's a very, very, very solid feeling piece. It really makes this small gun feel like it has some full-size controllability in your hand. And of course, you have a much nicer trigger than what you would get in a standard Glock. It's about 4.5 to 5 pounds, and we've seen that at the range. The main thing that I've noticed about this trigger system, it's not the fact that it's a 4.5 to 5 pound trigger pull, it's the fact that it seems a lot more consistent than a Glock trigger pull. I can shoot a Glock, and it feels like it's, a Glock trigger is not bad, but it's just that it's a Glock trigger. It's very average, but I feel like that I can get some varying degrees of pressure off that trigger, and this trigger seems like it's a lot more consistent. And on the scale, I get the same kind of results as far as how much force is required to pull the trigger on this. And of course, you've got your accessory rail here on the front. So, it's a very nice little system here. I think it's got an adequate sized trigger guard. If you happen to be like me and you have longer fingers, you like having a little bit of real estate there to work with to get your finger in. I like it. I think that feature-wise, it's a really, really nice little gun. I think that when I looked at these same features originally on the 19, definitely excited, but I'm in more and more looking at guns that I can conceal a lot easier, so smaller, like the subcompacts and micro compacts. So this has got a really awesome feature set for a small gun. All right, let's talk about the range real quick. So, Shadow Systems, obviously, one of their big selling features is that you're getting a lot of high-end performance. Um, you're paying a little more than you would for a standard, an actual Glock, right? But normally, if you bought just a off-the-shelf Glock and then you added, trigger upgrades and barrels, things like that, you could end up spending more money than 2-3 times what a Glock is actually going to cost you. And Shadow Systems has tried to integrate a lot of nice add-ons to their firearm, but still keeping the firearm affordable. And with a lot of the prices I've seen, that's really pretty close to what they've done. Now, this one here, my expectations for shooting, I figured that the larger grip of the 43X would be kind of a closer match to what I would expect off of this. And it is, but the interesting thing about it is that when you go to shoot this, actually, funny story, that before I got my hands on my actual display, I have a buddy he's a collector, and he's got a private range, and he had actually got one of these to borrow. That it's the elite version with the cutouts. They make this, obviously. The one we showed you in the MR was an Elite. It had little cutouts in the slide. It had optics cut. They make this in the same way. I got to shoot that one, and so I put a bunch of rounds through that gun that day to go ahead and get my opinion together on it. And this, the 43, I figured would be an equal gun to this one, but the trigger, it seems like this gun's a little bit better balanced than the 43X. And don't get me wrong, I love my 43, the X. It's a great little gun. But what I didn't realize the time I was shooting this one is it actually weighs a little bit less than the 43. Not by much. We're talking about just a couple of ounces. But it's interesting because you've got a really nice trigger system. It seems to handle really well in your hand. And I would have thought that it might have a little more, you may feel more energy in your hand that way, but it doesn't. It's actually the grip and the trigger and the weight, they've got the gun balanced really well. So it's a very pleasant experience in your hand, and it's a joy to shoot. Every one of the Shadow Systems pistols I've had in my hand so far is just a whole lot of fun. And so if you don't know a whole lot about these, if you've heard some people talking about them and you're considering something that is in the Glock clone category and you're looking for a compact or subcompact, I think it's something you might want to take a look at. Well, I decided to see what it was like to carry this firearm. There's a few different options I looked at. You've often seen me, I'll feature, crossbreed holsters or alien gear with 2 clips, but if the gun's small enough, I don't have an issue using either a sticky holster in the pocket or even a sticky holster in the belt line, as long as the gun's tiny enough. But I have some other holsters like these little DeSantis gun hide that are really good for this too. This one is actually one from my 43X, and the profile's so close that I thought I'd try it on this one, and it ended up being absolutely perfect. And the other reason I like it is because it has a place for a spare magazine. So this has a single clip, like I said, and there's lots of holsters like this. I've just been real happy with DeSantis over the years because they have so many different innovative styles of holsters for these smaller guns. So I carried this on the body with the extra magazine all week long, and it was just a joy. Like I say, I didn't even realize how light it was, but it's a couple ounces lighter than the 43. And yes, by the time you add the extra ammunition to it, that'll change the total weight a bit, because obviously if you're used to carrying just a standard Glock 43, as you know, that has a 6-round magazine plus 1. So you're going from 7 rounds to 13 plus 1. So you're carrying double the amount of ammunition. So yes, obviously your total weight is going to be more, but it doesn't feel like a heavy gun, and that's the really good thing. And like I said, there are a lot of other really good holster options for this. I chose that because I happen to have a gun that's almost the exact same size. It fits like a glove, and I was hoping it would, and it did. I'm actually going to be looking at a crossbreed Super Tuck for this, because I don't actually have a Super Tuck designed for a 43X, and I'm going to see if I can't get one made for this. I'll have to contact them and make sure I can do it. But it's one of my favorite holsters, and this is a gun I think is going to be a serious carry item for me. So I'm definitely going to look for get something that's nice and custom made. But no matter how you carry it, once again, it's very lightweight. If you're used to carrying a 43 or something similar, you won't have any issues with this either. So when we talk about the overall impressions on the CR920, you know, everything I've looked at from Shadow Systems so far has been a pretty good firearm. I mean, they've got nice features, and they look nice. And I know people who buy firearms based just on that, but when you look at it here, they've really done a nice job. That it looks good, but it's functional. There's a very good functional pattern on the grip. The slides have got purposeful, useful cuts in them. I think the sighting system on this gun out of the box is really good. I'd like a rear dot personally, but I think it's really, really awesome. And and I'm not even the kind of person who's that concerned about capacity. I regularly carry a 5-shot revolver. I regularly carry a Glock 43. I carry a 1911. I carry a Glock 36. I carry a lot of firearms that are 6, 7, 8 rounds in the firearm, and that's it. And as a matter of fact, the gun that I carry that has the most capacity with irregularity only carries 9 rounds total. But if you can get a firearm that is practically the same dimensions as the 43, and the only difference in weight is the actual weight of the rounds, because the extended magazine, with this kind of shootability and comfort, and reliability, it's really something to look at. And I know the next thing you're going to say is, well, there's the price. Okay, fair enough, but you're talking about the MSRP on the CR920 is around $679. So that's about $150 more than just a plain Jane Glock 43. But look what you're getting. Not just in capacity, but grip and trigger and barrel. And there's so many things that you get with the Shadow Systems that you sure couldn't add to a Glock 43 for $150. And I guess that's what I'm really trying to say, is that Shadow Systems has found a way to really condense a lot of high dollar features into the firearm, but only passing on a smaller amount of cost to you when you buy the firearm. And plus, you don't have to add anything to it. It comes with everything you need. If you want to be a little bit deeper concealment, you've got the 10-round mag. Personally, I think it feels a lot more comfortable in the hand with the 13, but to each their own. But it's just a really nice firearm. I like everything I've seen initially from Shadow Systems, and when I saw this one and saw the size, I realized that for me, I like the big one, but this is more like it. All right. Thanks for being with us. We sure appreciate it. That's going to do it for today. We're going to be back very soon with another video for you. So, of course, until that time, everyone, please stay safe and have a great day. Thank you.